There comes a time when silence speaks louder than any word, when your calm becomes your greatest weapon, and when walking away is the most powerful statement you can ever make. We live in a world that rewards noise, where everyone is shouting to be seen, explaining to be understood, and chasing what was never meant for them. But true strength doesn't make noise, it moves in silence. The moment you stop chasing people, stop begging for attention, and stop explaining your worth, you step into a realm of power that very few ever reach. Because silence is not weakness, it is mastery. It's the point where you stop reacting and start commanding, where your peace becomes your protection and your stillness becomes your shield. Number 1. Silence commands more respect than words ever could. We live in a world that rewards noise, where everyone is shouting to be seen, explaining to be understood, and chasing what was never meant for them. But true strength doesn't make noise, it moves in silence. The moment you stop chasing people, stop begging for attention, and stop explaining your worth, you step into a realm of power that very few ever reach. Because silence is not weakness, it is mastery. It's the point where you stop reacting and start commanding, where your peace becomes your protection and your stillness becomes your shield. When a person carries true certainty within, they do not need to speak loudly or constantly explain themselves. Their very presence communicates what others spend entire speeches trying to prove. Silence is a language, subtle yet deeply understood by those who are attuned to life. It is a form of communication that rises not from the mind but from the depth of one's being. When you stand calmly in silence, you are not withholding your voice, you are choosing where your energy flows. And choice is power. Consider how nature moves. The mountains do not speak, yet everything bows to their presence. The ocean does not shout, yet its depth humbles even the strongest ships. The sky does not argue, yet it holds the world beneath its gaze. Strength does not seek acknowledgement. It simply exists, and because it exists, it is felt. The same is true for the person who has mastered silence. They do not try to be understood, they are understood by the quiet force of their being. Most people speak out of insecurity. They speak to fill the emptiness they feel inside. They speak to be seen, to be accepted, to be validated. But the more they speak, the more they reveal their wounds. You can hear desperation in the voice that tries too hard to be acknowledged. Words that rush forward are often not expressions of truth, but attempts to escape silence, because silence reveals what we truly are. When you choose silence, you return to yourself. You no longer waste energy trying to convince others of your worth. You no longer chase after approval. You no longer feel the need to explain what your heart already knows. Silence becomes a mirror, reflecting your inner steadiness back to the world. People sense this steadiness. They feel it even if they cannot describe it. And in that quiet presence they recognize something rare: inner authority. Authority is not gained by force. Respect is not earned through argument. Influence does not come from loudness. These things arise naturally in the one who is rooted deeply in their own core. When your mind is still and your heart is grounded, your presence speaks for you. Your actions align with your words. Your words align with your values. And values lived silently are more powerful than any philosophy spoken loudly. Silence allows others to reveal themselves. When you are quiet, you observe, you learn, you see what is real and what is disguised. Most conflicts, most misunderstandings, most emotional storms could dissolve if one person simply chose to remain silent long enough to see clearly. Silence is clarity. Silence is patience. Silence is mastery. Respect grows from discipline. And silence is one of the highest forms of discipline. It demands that you trust yourself. It asks that you resist the temptation to defend your ego. It teaches you that your worth does not depend on how others view you. The one who can remain silent in the face of misunderstanding, judgment, or provocation is the one who has risen above the battlefield. In silence, your spirit strengthens, your energy gathers, you become grounded. You begin to move with intention instead of reaction, and when you do speak, your words carry weight. They land, they resonate, they shape. For words spoken from silence are words that come from truth. Let your silence be your foundation. Not silence born of fear or suppression, but silence born of clarity, presence, and inner strength. Speak when it is time to speak. Move when it is time to move. But do not waste your voice explaining your value to those who cannot see. Your silence will show them. Your silence will teach them. Your silence will command the respect your words never could. Number 2. Chasing destroys your energy. When you chase something, you are telling it that it is superior to you. You are placing it on a pedestal above your own soul, whether it is a person, a goal, or an idea of who you think you should be. Chasing is an act of self-abandonment. It is the moment when your center leaves your body and goes running after something outside of you. And whenever your center is outside, your strength weakens, your energy leaks, your spirit becomes restless. Chasing comes from a belief that you are not enough as you are, that fulfillment lies in someone's approval, that happiness is somewhere outside, waiting to be captured. But the more you run, the further it runs. The more you reach, the more it retreats. Life was never designed to reward desperation. It responds to alignment, not pursuit. What is in harmony with you will naturally move closer when you are still and grounded. Look at the nature of the breath. Inhale too forcefully and the lungs tighten. Chase after air and you suffocate yourself. But breathe calmly, steadily, and life flows into you without effort. This is how energy works. The moment you chase, tension rises. The moment tension rises, clarity disappears. And without clarity, you make decisions that lead to regret, confusion, and emotional exhaustion. To chase is to declare to the universe, I do not trust myself. I do not believe I am complete. But when you stand still and rooted in your own being, your energy says instead, I am whole. And what aligns with me will find me. That energy is magnetic. It pulls instead of pursues. It attracts instead of demands. The world responds to the one who is not trying to grasp it. When you stop chasing, you reclaim the power you have scattered across the world. The power you gave to people's opinions. The power you lost in proving yourself. The power you poured into trying to be chosen. That power belongs to you, and when it returns, your spirit stands taller, your choices become clearer, your presence becomes stronger. Chasing is a subtle form of self-rejection. It says, my value is somewhere out there. But the truth is simple. Nothing external can complete a person who has abandoned their own presence. You do not need to chase love, become love. You do not need to chase respect, embody respect. You do not need to chase opportunity. Develop the mind, the discipline, and the strength that makes opportunity come to you. When you spend your life running, you miss the stillness that reveals direction. You miss the quiet that shows you what truly matters. You miss yourself, and when you lose yourself, even if you catch what you were chasing, you cannot hold it because the one holding it is fractured. Sit with yourself, reclaim the parts of your energy you have scattered in pursuit of validation. Let the breath deepen. Let the heart settle. Let the spirit return to your center. From that center, move not towards something, but as something. Move from wholeness, not hunger. Move from clarity, not fear. When you no longer chase, your presence begins to speak for you. The right people move closer, the right paths open, the right timing reveals itself. Because the world does not reward the one who runs the loudest, it rewards the one who stands with unwavering inner certainty. Stop chasing, return to yourself, and watch how life begins to move toward you. Number 3, begging blocks abundance. Begging is not always done with words. Sometimes it is done with thoughts. Sometimes with attention, sometimes with silent hope that someone will notice your value. Begging is the silent plea, please choose me, please see me, please approve of me. But every time you beg externally or internally, you are affirming a belief that you are lacking. You are telling your spirit that it is not whole. You are telling life that you are not ready to receive. And life always mirrors your internal state. If your energy says, I need, then your reality will continue to show you absence. If your heart says, I am incomplete, then the world will respond with situations that make you feel incomplete. This is how begging blocks abundance. Abundance is not something you chase or plead for. Abundance is something you align with. It flows to the one who knows they are already worthy. It flows to the one who stands firm in self-respect. It flows to the one who does not grasp or cling. The more desperately you want something, the further it slips away, because desperation signals fear, and fear restricts the flow of life. It tightens your energy. It closes your heart. It dims your intuition. A closed heart cannot receive what the universe is trying to give. Think of your hands. When they are clenched tightly in need, nothing can be placed in them. But when the hands are open, relaxed, steady, life can place gifts gently within them. This is the difference between begging and allowing. Begging is tightness, allowing is trust. Trust is abundance. Begging comes from forgetting your own value. It is the moment when you hand your self-worth to someone else and wait for them to feed it back to you. But no one outside you has the authority to define you unless you surrender that power. When you stop begging for love, you realize love was never something to be received. It is something to be lived from the inside. When you stop begging to be accepted, you realize acceptance was always waiting for you in your own presence. Life has a natural intelligence. It is always listening to your inner state. If your inner whisper is "I do not deserve," then abundance will walk past you. But when your presence speaks without words, "I am already enough," then abundance begins to gather around you. Opportunities gravitate to grounded energy. Respect moves toward those who respect themselves. Love appears where love already lives. Releasing begging does not mean closing your heart. It means opening it correctly. It means giving without attachment. It means loving without losing yourself. It means extending your hand without lowering your dignity. The spirit flourishes not when it grasps, but when it stands in quiet assurance. To stop begging is to return to your own center. To return to your own center is to remember your original worth. And when you remember your original worth, abundance flows, not because you demand it, but because you are now aligned with it. Stand still. Breathe deeper. Feel your presence from within. Do not seek love, become it. Do not chase wealth, embody value. Do not plead for attention. Be so rooted in your being that your existence itself is undeniable. When you no longer beg for anything, you begin to receive everything. Number 4, explanation is a sign of insecurity. When you feel the need to explain yourself, what you are truly seeking is permission. Permission to be who you are. Permission to think how you think. Permission to walk the path you have chosen. But the moment you begin justifying your choices, your values, your dreams, you are already doubting them. Explanation is not always communication. Often it is insecurity dressed as clarity. It is the inner voice asking, "Is it okay for me to be myself?" The truth is simple. Those who understand you do not need explanations. Those who do not understand you will not be convinced by them. So when you try to explain your value to someone who cannot see it, you are watering a tree that has no roots. You are putting your heart in the hands of those who have never learned how to hold anything fragile. And in that moment, you lose yourself. There is great strength in saying less. Not silence born from fear, but silence born from certainty. When you stop explaining, you begin living. You stop defending your decisions and start embodying them. You stop asking for validation and start trusting your own inner wisdom. And this shift changes everything, not only in how the world perceives you, but in how you perceive yourself. Consider the flame of a candle. It does not explain its warmth, it simply shines. Consider the river. It does not explain its direction, it simply flows. Consider the sun. It does not justify its presence, it simply rises. Nature does not explain, nature expresses, and its expression is undeniable. So too must your life be an expression, not a justification. When you constantly explain, you weaken the foundation of your own path. You allow external opinions to shape your internal decisions. You allow the noise of the world to drown your inner knowing. But when you trust your path, even if no one else understands it, your life begins to align with your true purpose. You begin to walk with a quiet confidence that cannot be disturbed. Explanation often arises from the fear of being misunderstood, but misunderstanding is inevitable. No two people see life through the same window. Your task is not to convince others of your vision, it is to become the vision so clearly that your presence speaks more than your words ever could. The one who moves with inner authority does not announce their direction. They act, they move, they become. There is a deep peace that comes from releasing the need to explain. You begin to realize that your worth does not shrink when someone fails to recognize it. Your truth does not fade because someone questions it. Your path does not weaken because it is misunderstood. You are not here to be approved. You are here to be authentic. Let your silence say, "I know who I am." Let your actions say, "My life is my message." Let your presence say, "I do not need permission to exist." Speak when it is necessary. Clarify when it is kind. But do not explain who you are to those who cannot see. Your life will explain itself through the strength of your choices, the consistency of your character, and the calmness of your spirit. Stand firm in your being. Be clear within yourself. And remember, you never have to explain what is real. You only need to live it. Number 5. Power is in control, not in reaction. Power is not found in how loudly you respond, how quickly you defend yourself, or how fiercely you fight back. Power is found in the space between stimulus and response, the gap where your awareness lives. Anyone can react. Reaction is automatic. Reaction is impulsive. Reaction is the ego flaring up to protect itself. But control is deliberate. Control is conscious. Control is mastery. When someone tries to provoke you, they are handing you a choice. If you react, you give them your power. You allow their words, their tone, their energy to dictate the state of your inner world. You let them become the puppeteer and your emotions the strings. But when you pause, breathe, observe, you become the one holding the strings. Silence in that moment is not weakness, it is dominance over yourself. It is the quiet knowing that no one outside of you has authority over your peace. The strongest person in any room is the one who cannot be moved internally. Their expression may be calm, their voice steady, their posture composed. They do not need to assert dominance because their grounded presence already communicates it. They are not cold, they are sovereign, they are not passive, they are selective in where their energy flows. They understand that reacting to everything drains life force and scatters attention, and attention is the very essence of power. Control is not suppression, it is clarity, it is the ability to feel emotion fully, anger, disappointment, fear, frustration, without letting those emotions take command. When you control your response, you are not denying what you feel, you are guiding it, you are telling your emotions, I hear you, I honor you, but I choose how I move. This is emotional alchemy, transforming raw emotion into direction, strength, and purpose. Think of the warrior who has trained his mind. He does not swing his sword at every shadow. He acts only when necessary. And when he does, his actions are precise, intentional, and effective. The one who reacts wastes energy. The one who controls commands energy. When you stop reacting to external noise, people feel the shift. Some will be unsettled by it because they can no longer manipulate your emotional state. Some will be drawn to it because true stability is rare, and rare things are valuable. You become like a mountain. Weather may change around you, winds may rise and fall, but you remain rooted. True power is inner stillness. Stillness is not inactivity, it is the ability to move from intention rather than chaos. The more still you become inside, the more effective you become outside. You stop wasting time on arguments that lead nowhere. You stop engaging in conflicts that drain your spirit. You stop defending yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You conserve your strength, and conserved strength becomes influence. To live in control is to live from presence. To live from presence is to become unshakable. Let others rush. Let others argue. Let others seek to provoke. You remain here, grounded, steady, aware, because power is not in reaction. Power is in choosing your response. Power is in knowing that nothing external can disturb the one who has mastered their internal world. Hold your center, move from calm, act only with purpose. This is how power lives through you. Number 6, silence builds mystery, and mystery builds power. Silence is not empty, it is full of presence. When you choose silence, you begin to create a space around yourself that others can feel but cannot fully understand. And what cannot be immediately understood becomes intriguing. The less you reveal, the more others want to know. This is not manipulation, it is the natural magnetism of a grounded spirit. Mystery is not something you create consciously, it arises when you are at peace with simply being, without the need to be seen, known, or validated. We live in a world where people rush to express themselves, to prove their worth, to be heard at all times, but the one who does not rush, who does not desperately seek attention, stands out. There is power in being slightly unreadable. When you do not expose every thought, every feeling, every plan, you maintain sovereignty over your inner world. You give others only what is necessary, never more. Your silence becomes a boundary that protects your essence. When you speak less, people listen more. When you reveal less, people pay closer attention. When your presence carries calm depth rather than restless noise, others feel drawn to you without even understanding why. They sense that there is something within you, something strong, something grounded, something real. Mystery is not darkness, it is depth. It is the quiet confidence of someone who knows their value but does not need to announce it. Mystery arises from a mind that is not constantly leaking energy. When you talk too much about your plans, you disperse your momentum. When you explain yourself repeatedly, you dilute your convictions. When you expose your emotions impulsively, you weaken the power of your presence. Silence gathers energy. Silence concentrates intention. Silence deepens clarity. The deeper your inner world becomes, the stronger your outer presence grows. Imagine a deep well of water. From the surface, you cannot see the bottom, but you feel the depth. This is how your presence should be, not shallow, where everything is easily visible, but deep, where only those who earn your trust are allowed to enter. The world does not need to know everything about you. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your story, your spirit. Mystery is also the space where transformation happens. When others cannot anticipate your next step, they cannot influence it. When your direction is known only to you, no one can interfere. Silence becomes your shield, protecting your growth while it is still taking form, like a seed growing beneath the soil, unseen but unstoppable. And when you finally move, your actions speak with force, clarity, precision, because they were born in silence, not reaction. Mystery gives your actions weight. People will not forget what is rare. They will not overlook what is quietly strong. So speak when necessary, but never out of insecurity. Share when meaningful, but never out of impulse. Let others discover you slowly, layer by layer, at the pace your spirit allows. What is revealed slowly is valued deeply. What is understood too fast is forgotten quickly. Let your silence hold your truth. Let your mystery protect your depth. Let your power breathe in stillness. Because the one who is not immediately understood will always be remembered. Number 7. Stillness heals what noise cannot. Stillness is not the absence of life, it is the presence of awareness. In stillness, you meet yourself as you truly are, without distraction, without noise, without the world's expectations pressing into your mind. The modern world conditions you to keep moving, keep speaking, keep proving yourself. Yet the more you move outward, the further you drift from the center of your being. Stillness is the journey back. It is the return to the origin, the place where your inner strength, clarity, and healing reside. Noise distracts. Stillness reveals. When the mind is loud, every fear grows larger. Every worry gains weight. Every emotion becomes overwhelming. But silence calms the inner storm. Stillness does not erase your pain. It allows you to see it clearly, without exaggeration or distortion. And when you can see your pain clearly, you can understand it. Healing begins with understanding. Stillness is the teacher that many avoid because it asks for honesty. It asks you to sit with the parts of yourself you try to outrun, your wounds, your doubts, your fears, the memories you bury. But whatever you do not face will continue to shape your life in silence. Stillness is the doorway through which you step into healing. When you sit quietly with your experience, without judgment, the knots of emotional tension begin to loosen, the heart begins to soften, the body begins to release. The world tells you to escape discomfort. Stillness teaches you to transform it. Healing is not found in distraction. Healing is not found in constant busyness. Healing is not found in forcing yourself to stay strong. True healing is found when you allow yourself to stop, to breathe, to feel, to listen. When you stop running, the wound finally has a chance to close. Consider the surface of a lake. When the water is disturbed, you cannot see your reflection. But when the water becomes still, clarity appears effortlessly. Your mind works the same way. When it is filled with noise, constant thinking, constant reacting, constant consuming, you cannot see who you really are. But in stillness, your true reflection emerges. Stillness reconnects you with life. The breath deepens, the heartbeat slows, the nervous system begins to rest. And in this rest, the body heals, the mind clears, the spirit regains its strength. What medication cannot solve, what conversation cannot express, stillness quietly restores. There are answers within you that you will never hear until you learn to be still. You do not need to go far to find quiet. Close your eyes. Place your attention on your breath. Feel the air entering. Feel the air leaving. In that simple act, you return to yourself. Stillness is not inactivity, it is alignment. It is where your scattered pieces come back together. It is where you remember your wholeness. Do not fear the quiet. Do not fear the space where nothing seems to happen. Because in that space, everything is happening. The heart is healing. The mind is clearing. The spirit is strengthening. Stillness is not escape. Stillness is the medicine. Stillness is the home. Number 8. Walking away is louder than any argument. There is a moment in life when you realize that raising your voice, explaining your heart, and arguing for your worth only drains your spirit. Words cannot open a closed mind. Emotion cannot soften a hardened heart, and no amount of reasoning can convince someone who has already decided not to understand you. In that moment, the most powerful act is to walk away, not in anger, not in pride, but in clarity. Walking away is not retreat, it is self-respect, choosing itself. When you walk away, you say without speaking, "My peace matters more than your approval." You choose your sanity over chaos. You choose your dignity over convincing. You choose your self-worth over the exhausting attempt to be seen by someone who refuses to see you. This is not weakness, it is maturity. It is the realization that your energy is sacred and not everyone has earned the right to access it. Arguments often come from the need to be understood, but the need to be understood comes from insecurity. When you know your truth, when you trust your inner knowing, you no longer feel compelled to prove anything. The strongest voice is the one that chooses silence. The strongest presence is the one that removes itself when respect is no longer being reciprocated. Walking away shifts the power dynamic without a single word. The person who walks away holds the power because they are no longer controlled by the situation, the person, or the emotional chaos. They have reclaimed their center, they have returned to themselves. And returning to yourself is the greatest victory of all. The world often glamorizes fighting, defending, debating, but true strength is not loud. True strength is calm. It does not need to announce itself. It does not need to prove itself. It simply exists. When you walk away, you choose to preserve your inner kingdom rather than burn it trying to change another. Walking away is the moment you say, "I choose peace. I choose growth. I choose myself." It is the decision to no longer participate in battles that drain your spirit or conversations that steal your joy. You realize you do not need to win the argument to win your life. Your time, your energy, your emotional well-being, these are priceless. Protecting them is not selfishness, it is wisdom. Let others misunderstand you. Let them create stories that do not reflect who you are. Let them talk, let them judge, let them assume. Your silence allows life to reveal the truth in time. Your absence teaches lessons your presence never could, and your walking away speaks what words are too small to express. You do not need to fight to prove your worth. Your worth is not found in conflict, it is found in your ability to rise above it. Walk away when something disturbs your peace. Walk away when your mind feels heavy. Walk away when your heart feels unseen. Not to show others they lost you, but to show yourself that you finally returned to you. Number 9. Self-respect is the root of silence. Self-respect begins as a quiet awareness. It is not loud, it does not demand attention, and it is not something that needs to be announced. It lives in the way you hold your own energy, the way you treat yourself, and the standards you refuse to lower. When you deeply respect yourself, silence becomes your natural response, not because you are unable to speak, but because you no longer feel the need to defend, explain, or chase understanding. Silence becomes the boundary that protects your dignity. Self-respect means you no longer place your worth in the hands of others. You no longer wait for approval to feel whole. You no longer bend yourself into shapes that are comfortable for others but painful for your spirit. The moment you realize that your value does not come from being wanted, chosen, praised, or applauded, you stop speaking just to be heard. You begin to conserve your words because you now understand the power behind them. The world will always have opinions. People will always misunderstand. Some will project their fears onto you, others will test your boundaries, some will try to provoke reactions simply to confirm their own insecurities. But when you respect yourself, you learn that not every situation deserves your voice. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. Not every disrespect requires confrontation. Silence becomes your way of saying, I know my worth,